Black Gold, Wake Up and Smell the Coffee, film by Nick and Mark Francis, Speak It Films in association with Fulcrum Productions, presentation by Kayley Caponi. Background information. This film takes place in Ethiopia, which is considered the birthplace of coffee. Addis Ababa is the capital of Ethiopia. It's one of the poorest countries in the world. Ethiopia is the largest producer of coffee in Africa. Over 15 million people in Ethiopia depend on coffee for their survival, and it provides 67% of Ethiopia's export revenue. This film follows Tadesse Maskela, who manages the Farmers Co-operative Union around, and Tadesse explains how important coffee is to their country. The coffee farmers refer to coffee as gold. Economy and coffee farmers. The supply of coffee on the world market used to be regulated by the International Coffee Agreement, which is an international commodity agreement aimed to achieve a reasonable balance between the supply and demand of coffee at a higher price. But the ICA collapsed in 1989. Since then, the price paid to farmers has fallen to a 30-year low. This is the reason why Ethiopian farmers are struggling to support their families with the money they get for the coffee they harvest. They spend long hours planting and harvesting coffee plants all day, every day, and only get paid very little. For example, if they sell 1 cup of coffee, the farmers only get 1 birr, which is 12 cents here in the United States. 1 kilo of coffee is 2 birrs, which is 23 cents. These Ethiopian farmers have not received as much as 5 birr, which is 57 cents, for the coffee they harvest. The International Coffee Organization says world coffee prices have fallen by 70% since 1997. Coffee farmers and their families are suffering from low prices at which their coffee is being sold at, which leads to their very low income. Because of their low income, they cannot feed their families, which could have as many as 8 people in one little house. They also cannot send their children to school because they cannot afford it. The economy of the community is based on coffee production, nothing else, thus making it extremely difficult for the community as a whole to get money to help with the development of schools. Some Ethiopian farmers are now looking at alternative crops as they can no longer support their families on the little income from coffee. Coffee pickers. These coffee pickers have to separate the good coffee beans from the bad and only get paid 4 birr a day. This is less than half $1 a day. In the film, Tadesse explained how they work a full 8-hour day. The film showed these coffee pickers, which consisted of only women, and their working conditions, which were very small and close together. Economy and coffee. Coffee takes about 4 years for the plant to grow to its fullest, and by the 5th year, the coffee bean becomes useful to the farmers. Coffee from Sidama, Ethiopia is the region supplying Starbucks. Tadesse's coffee is called sun-dried Harara, which is one of the best coffees in the world. Globally, more than 2 billion cups of coffee are drank every day. Economy crisis. Because of the little money coffee farmers are getting for their coffee and how they cannot afford to feed their families, hunger is becoming very high because of how they are harvesting less coffee. 7 million people in Ethiopia are dependent on emergency food aid every year. This aid helps feed and shelter them, but in order to be approved for this aid, the Ethiopians have to be a certain weight. There are many more requirements that the Ethiopian people have to meet, or they will not get approved for this emergency food aid. This map shows food shortages in Ethiopia. As you can see, a majority of Ethiopia is struggling with famine and not being able to obtain food for their families, while the blue portion of this map indicates the little area with people who can obtain food for their families. Harvesting and selling chat. Chat is a narcotic plant widely consumed in East Africa, but is banned throughout the United States and much of Europe. The price of chat is much higher than that of coffee. Coffee farmers are not planting chat by choice, they are planting it out of desperation. They are trying everything they can to avoid death. What happened after the film? Since the release, Tadesse Maskela's coffee has increased in price from $1.45 a pound to a minimum of $2.30 a pound, and his union has tripled the amount of money being paid back to 130,000 farmers. In the first few weeks after the premiere, the film helped to generate donations approximately up to $25,000 to the coffee farming community featured in Black Gold. The dilapidated school featured in the film was built.